Saludos y bienvenidos to the PGP podcast, episode 49. 49, Moreno. 49. Oh, my Lord. Hey, Josh Tobar, proud principal of Memorial Pathway Academy in Garland ISD, Garland, USA. Ready to rock and roll and sharpen those tools because that's what this show is all about. Remember that we are part of the Fantastic Four Familia. Fantastic Four, which starts every Saturday at 10 o'clock with Coach Hurt, at 10:30 with Shika and Tammy, and El Jefe, 10:55, Principal Cafele, and we are the bookend of the Fantastic Four, making sure that we are all growing stronger together because you know what? Iron sharpens iron, baby. Hey, Moreno, how are you doing? Can you hear me? Moreno?
I can hear you.
How are you doing, Moreno?
I am doing fabulous, and I am home. So you can see my spiders at the top. So I am doing awesome. I am home, thank goodness. And I am just enjoying the weather. It is so beautiful here, Josh.
Hey, you know what? You guys have had horrible weather lately. You earned some good weather out there. Did they fix your roof?
I did fix my roof, thank goodness. And, you know, I don't want anything to ever happen to anybody. That is awful to have to get your roof all replaced and everything. That's terrible.
Agreed. Hey, and everybody out there, thank you for giving us some of your time. We really appreciate it. Look, there's no compensation on anyone's part here other than our intellectual compensation because you know what? We have all of these awesome speakers, authors, assistant principals, bus drivers, cafeteria workers. This is a hodgepodge podcast. It's not a niche. So you could pick and choose whatever you want. So if you want to be part of this show, reach out to us. Reach out to that lady. She might be in Rwanda. I don't know. She might be some country. I don't know. But she could still get Wi-Fi over there. So reach out to us because you're in a crucial part of this. We need to learn about what's going on in your part of America because it doesn't matter where you're at. Whether you are in Maine, whether you're in Florida, whether you're in Hawaii or Alaska, we're all in it together. We're all learning from each other and we face pretty much the same issues. But you know what? Let's pick up some of those tools from New England. Let's pick up some of those tools from South Dakota, North Dakota, from Washington. I don't know, because we're not in a business where we need to be in silos. On the contrary, we need to learn from each other. What do you think about that, Dr. Moreno?
Josh, and you know what? Just to show everybody, look at last week's episode. We had people from around the world. You know how many people reached out to me and said that was such a wonderful experience, a great time to talk about, you know, what do they do in Finland? What do they do in Canada? It was just such a powerful episode last week. So, yeah, you're absolutely right. Please, please, please come out and join us every Sunday at 4 o'clock because we have the nuggets, we have the knowledge, and we're here to make sure that everybody gets a little something so that we can take it back to our campuses and do good.
And talking about doing good, there is this cat I know who's a Philadelphia fan. He's the only Philly fan that I kind of appreciate because he likes beating up on the Redskins. Oh, sorry, the Commanders. Hey, this young man has been before, and you know what? He's going to come back because this young man, I've been pushing this. And you know that, Dr. Moreno. Oh, my Lord. I've been pushing this guy's book like for 10, 15 episodes. Hey, administrator, you got to read this one, especially right now during testing season. The Stoics and the chair, they go hand in hand. So I'd like to introduce to you real quick. He'll be here for the long version of the podcast in a little bit. Superintendent Glenn Robbins, welcome to the show. Talk to us a little bit about you and about your awesome brand new book, I Won't Back Down.
All right. Thank you so much for the incredible intro. And yeah, I don't have many friends in Texas, considering I'm a Philadelphia fan. So just saying, you know, we do connect, everybody. So, you know, thank you so much, Josh. This book has been a process, I think, for many years, right? And we tie in this book music and rejection of educators. And I want to read a quick real endorsement real fast. I've read many books while in academia, but not many had touched me like I Won't Back Down by Glenn Robbins. In education, there is a dark area that creates obstacles for many in their careers. Glenn does a magnificent job connecting these struggles to help district leaders with those who are popular artists who are not initially deemed worthy for success. And it goes on, but that incredible endorsement comes from the guy on the screen right there, Josh. Thank you so much. It meant a lot to me. But here's the reason why I wrote the book. Work with educators all across the country, and so many of them are defeated, beaten down, and rejected. Right. And I think it's a mind shift that we have to do into a whole new mindset into, hey, maybe it's not me sometimes when I'm getting rejected, or maybe it is me and I need to check my ego. And I realized that maybe I need to change some things up. But I took musical artists who we thought were always spectacular, instant overnight, and they had it so easy. And, throw in Tom Petty, Jimi Hendrix, Johnny Cash, Wu-Tang is in there. NWA is in there with Dr. Dre. Taylor Swift talking about controlling her message as she continued to grow. Andre Boccacelli and so forth. But it talks about being rejected in interviews, being passed over for a job, pushing ideas to a boss and the boss says no. And along those lines of changing as an educator, we were mentioning behind stage how much we've changed since we started in education to where we are now in our field and our personal careers. We've changed a lot, and we have to go through that. And some people will be critical because we have changed. So we got to continue to go forward. And I tied in the music aspect because it is the best thing that we have to a time machine. When we hear certain songs, we know we were happy or we know we were angry. And that song might help propel us forward to something even much better. So I hope you all grab a copy of this book. Like I said, Josh read this book with one of my great endorsers in here. I have some amazing rock stars who have done that. And everyone I keep talking to says two things. Number one, they felt like I was writing the story about them because they felt like I tapped into their brain like they were, oh, I also had rejection, right? Is that surprising? And then the other part is it feels like a conversation with a friend. So, lots of tidbits of advice in here, lots of areas of reflection and write your own lyrics and so forth. But just beyond thankful to be here and be able to publicize that. So thank you.
Thank you, brother. And he will be back for a detailed part of this book. Please, we'll reach out to you, Glenn. Hopefully we connect here when you come into Texas. That is an outstanding man. If you want to know a true superintendent that is really for kids, you got to follow that cat on X. This guy is down to earth. His title does not get to his head. This guy, he's far from that situation that people might experience. I know it rarely happens in education, but rarely. But he does an awesome job of connecting with his learning community, and it's a pleasure to learn from that young man in New Jersey, even though he's an Eagles fan, but we love him, and we'll reach out to him. Thank you, brother, for being here. Appreciate you. Best wishes. Hopefully it's your spring break over there, and you have a good time. Thank you, brother.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
God bless you. And we welcome our panel, and today's show is Educating the Educators. So if you want to look back at a previous show that's similar to this, look at episode 24. And episode 24 deals with my first year. We have a first year instructional aide, a first year assistant principal, a first year principal, a first year area superintendent. So reach out in that show. That's what this podcast is all about, is making sure that we take knowledge from people that are at the front. And today it's individuals that are at the college level preparing for the schoolhouse. Dr. Moreno, take it away.
Oh my goodness. You know what? Everybody wants to know, what are we doing to take care of our teacher shortage? So I know there's a lot of people out there who's going to listen today to hear all of the great nuggets you guys are going to drop today, because we have a severe problem in trying to fill positions. Believe it or not, we didn't fill up last year's position, and we're already looking forward to this upcoming. And I know Josh is saying, yep, he has those vacancies now. But before we get started, you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. And before we even get started, I want to make sure that we tell the audience a little bit about yourself. So we're going to give a little brief summary of your different roles that you served while in education. And finally, who do you focus on preparing, teachers or administrators? Just so that the audience knows what our background kind of is specializing. So Nora, we're going to start with you. First, a little some background, right, on the summary of the different roles you served while in education. And then who are you prepping for? Are you prepping teachers or prepping administrators?
Okay, well, thank you for allowing me to be part of this podcast. So I'm very excited. So currently, I am a professor of instruction at the University of Texas at El Paso, and I work mainly with teachers who want to become administrators. But in my previous life, and I think of that life very fondly. I was a high school principal for many, many years, like 22 years. So, I wrote down I kept a journal that first year of all the crazy things that happened to me. And one of these days, I'm going to write that into a book.
That book.
Yes. And right now, I'm just so busy with, working on articles for the university. But that book, oh my God, there are stories in there that are almost unbelievable.
I bet. And Nora, you know what? I am so glad you said that, because looking back in my 30 years, I wish someone would have told me to keep a journal, because I absolutely forgot so many stories that today it's like I don't remember half of them. And
Yes.
I want to write that book, but I got to remember these stories. So thank goodness I had a secretary who I had forever and ever, that she's going to help me remember these stories. So thank you so much for joining us today. How about you, Lisa?
Hello, everyone. Like Nora, I'm very grateful to be part of this panel here today on this podcast. Grateful to see Nora. She was my high school English teacher, one of my inspirations as an educator, FYI. This is my 29th year in education, Dr. Moreno. I am serving a couple of different roles, actually. I'm a part-time instructor for Sul Ross State University, preparing teachers who want to be principals, like Dr. Pa. And I've also been an assistant principal. I've been an elementary principal for 14 years, and I'm currently a guidance and instruction assistant principal at Coronado High School in El Paso ISD. So I'm in charge of master schedule. I lead the counseling team, and talk about crazy stories. Yes, I can probably join on writing that book, because there are some crazy ones, and I'm living them as we speak.
Still living them. You're still getting the scars. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much again for joining us. Let me see. We have our next guest today. I'm going to see. Mary, can you hear us?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Awesome. Yes, I can hear you. Awesome.
Okay, well, good. I am very honored to be included in this discussion and to serve on the panel. Currently, right now, I work for two different universities, the University of Houston downtown, where I'm an adjunct. I teach ed psych, but then I also am a clinical supervisor where I'm out visiting our student teachers. And I have them for 2 semesters, and they have me for class in addition to that. So that's one model. And then I also work for Western Governors University. It's a totally different model, preparing students to be teachers. But previously, I had worked as a classroom teacher, and then I served in a central office position where I oversaw the English ESL program for secondary schools and the foreign language. And then I decided I was working on my doctorate. I've never done campus administration, so then I did some elementary schools, and I retired as an assistant principal at a high school. And then when I retired, I was like, wait a minute, I need to unretire, because the really thing I wanted to do was prepare those student teachers. Every single role I had, I realized that didn't matter the university. They were not prepared. They didn't know what we wanted on the campus. So I thought that this is my next chapter, and I absolutely love it.
Awesome. So just to make it clear, so Nora, you teachers to admin, Lisa, teachers to admin, and Mary, baby teachers to classroom teachers.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. And last but not least, Chris, Dr. Yoakum, is that correct?
Correct.
Awesome.
Well, great to see everyone. Thank you for having me. Great to see Josh again. I'm currently the chair of the Department of Teacher Education at Fort Hays State University out in Western Kansas. But we have a very large online program, so probably close to over 900 students in just our initial traditional cert. So we get to work with students across the state, across the country, and even in foreign countries. I started in K-12 as an English as a second language teacher, and then ended my career as a high school Spanish teacher. And then I've been in higher ed, either preparing future foreign language USL teachers, or now I guess finishing my 9th year as the chair. So in my current department, we also primarily work with those students that are going into the classroom for the first time. Some might be traditional age, some might be non-traditional age, but nonetheless, we're working with them as they go in to teach for the first time.
Awesome. Now, Chris, did you say yours is virtual?
We have on campus. We have a very traditional Division II on campus school, but we also have a very robust online. So we do
Online.
both. Mhm.
Okay. Nora, is yours virtual or online?
Ours is online.
Online. Okay. Lisa, are you?
Online, and we do a lot of hybrid work. So
Hybrid.
students can log on from home.
Okay, perfect. And then Lisa, are you online or virtual?
Yes,
I'm sorry, both.
the Sulawesi State University Ed Leadership Program is a fully online graduate program.
It's an online. And Mary,
Yes,
you do both. You do online and in person.
Yes.
Awesome. I just want people to know, just so that, they're always looking for teachers, and I'm sure they're probably going to reach out to us or you regarding trying to fill those vacancies. So I just want to let people know out there how your programs actually work. Josh, take it away.
All right. So thank you. And big shout out from New Zealand. Doc Harvey's back again. He wants to, isn't he at work right now? Right? He's at work. It's Monday. Hey,
It's
Doc. I should be
Monday.
teaching kids right now. But thank you for being here, Doc. Thank you. We enjoyed your talk last week on the show. And Susan, thank you for being here. Awesome Jaguar and Ali being here. Edwin Garcia from New Jersey, thank you for being here. Part of the Fantastic Four family. And we cannot go without mentioning Dot McKeever Jeeber for being here and giving the shout out smoke signal to everybody. Hey, Chris. You know what? We're not going to fake the funk here. We got to let the audience know who you are. We're going to peel that onion a little. Esa cebolla para atrás. Just a little bit back. Hey, Chris, what motivated you, my man, to become an educator? Who or what?
Like most of us, I had really good teachers. I grew up in a rural community in western Nebraska. Like most kids, was involved in activity, sports, etc., and was just fortunate to have really good teachers, coaches. We often don't realize that until after the fact. But that was the number one influence for me, is just being around that environment and wanting to be a part of that myself someday as a professional.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing. Lisa, why? Why did you do it, Lisa? Why?
Because of Nora Pa. No, honestly, I mean, there are many reasons and factors. When I was a student at UTEP getting my bachelor's degree, I wanted to go to law school. That was what I supposedly wanted to do. And in my sophomore year, I was like, well, I don't know if that's what I want to do. And of course, I love literature. I love reading. I love writing, largely because of Nora Pa. And I was like, I'm going to be an English teacher. That's what I want to do. That's what I love. That's what I'm passionate about. And so I became an English teacher. So yes, that's part of my journey.
Thank you for sharing, Lisa. Mary, ¿qué pasó, Mary?
Okay. Well, I'm like you, Lisa, that I was going to be an attorney. My brother was one, and my brother said, I've got a spot for you. But I was getting married to somebody who was going to be a Methodist minister, and we had to go to North Carolina so he could go to Duke. So it was like, okay, well, I'm going on to North Carolina, and I was a Spanish and French teacher. Or a student, and I just thought, this is my next most favorite thing. I'll just do this. And so then I added on other certifications, and just it's what I decided to do and love it.
Beautiful. Boss lady, why did you enter? Why did you enter it?
And you know what? I've always wanted to be a teacher. I can't believe I'm saying that. I was the one kid that enjoyed reading the instructions to our game. It drove my brother nuts, okay? But I loved reading and teaching everyone about being a teacher. And I'm like Chris. I felt that there were a lot of great teachers. And so when I worked at UTEP in the teacher ed department, I always told my students, be that great teacher that you want to be, right? And that was my goal, right? I wanted to emulate all of the great teachers that I worked with.
Thank you for sharing that. And just so you all know, obviously, there's some people that I know just a little bit more than others. And the first time I met Dr. Paul, that lady was in charge. Look, for me, I'm sorry, we know we're already old farts here, right? After 3 decades, yeah, Lisa, you're getting there. You're a little bit behind me. When I met her, she was the principal of El Dorado High School. And I'm just going to tell you this. If you know how to run a school, that your graduation class is 800 kids.
Yes.
Let me repeat that again. You don't get it. If I just said it to you, you don't get it because you've never walked those shoes. If you know how to run a school, that your senior graduating class on graduation day is 800 kids, that's a boss. That's a boss. Some of you might have, hey, it's hard to be a high school principal, and you might have a nice 200, 300 kids. That's good. That's good. That's hard. It's not easy. Trust me. Not anyone can sit in that chair. 800 repeatedly. Repeatedly. Wow. It was not like just a one and done thing. Repeatedly. I bring flowers when they need to be brought, and whoever needs to hear this, that's just a fact, Jack. Dr. Moreno.
Wow, you know what? That is amazing because 800 graduating class. Oh my God. And that's just the seniors. I can just imagine about 800 freshmen.
Oh, yes. And generally, those underclasses were bigger, right? The senior class was small.
Wow, you had a city. Yeah. That's what you had.
Oh,
you
had
a city.
It was just wall-to-wall people.
Amazing. Kudos to you. Kudos. Mm-hmm. Let's kind of talk a little bit. Let's get to the meat of all of this. I know we are seeing a large group of teachers leaving our profession, right? So when did you witness or feel the effects of the exodus of education? And how were you able to adjust to this need? Okay, so we're just experiencing that. There's just a lot of people saying, you know what, I'm tired. I'm not going to teach anymore. And I'm going to go do something else, right? So when did you actually witness this? Lisa, we're going to start with you. When did you actually witness this or feel the effects? And then how were you able to adjust?
Honestly, I mean, I've been feeling it, witnessing it a little bit pre-pandemic, I would say. There were a lot of teachers that were already very tired and fed up, and it's just too much. I can't do this. But when the pandemic hit, I think it got 100 times worse. Yeah, exactly. Like Josh just displayed there is a, straw that broke the camel's back type of thing. And it's spiraling, and it makes me very sad. And I keep in touch with a lot of teachers. I've been at a lot of schools at the elementary, middle school, high school levels, and university, of course, now, helping prepare teachers to become principals. And I commend my students who are at Sul-Ross. I commend them for wanting to get in to be an administrator in this day and age, because it is not easy. And Nora, I'm at Coronado High School also, and we're close to 2,600. Senior class right now is at 600, and OMG, I can't imagine 800. I'm going crazy with the 600 right now, making sure that they all graduate. So anyhow, I do my best to not only motivate people, but to inspire them. That's my lot in life. That's one of my things, is that when teachers are really struggling and want to get out, I do my best to nurture them, love on them, mentor them, and really just do my best to inspire them, because it is getting worse, and it's sad and scary and disappointing, but we got to stay the course. And so that's where I'm at.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And you're so right. We need to kind of take care of ourselves and making sure that we're continuing to inspire them and supporting them. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. So I'm so glad that you mentioned those things. How about you, Mary? When did you witness or
So, yeah. So it was just probably within the last 10 years, it just seemed to get worse. But you would have, I think, as more responsibilities were given to teachers, even with all of the testing, they just feel like what they would say is, we don't feel like we can really teach. They weren't making the connections of what they were needing to do. All they saw it as was more work. And so for me, it was, how could I show them that I respected them as those, as those experts in the room? And what could I do to try to make it easier for them where they didn't feel this stress, whether it was little celebrations or, just finding ways for them to feel that respect instead of feeling like you're just having just more stuff, just do it, just do it. And one of them even told me, which really made me feel good. She said, we know you care about us, and we know how you say it nice, but we really know there's a velvet hammer behind it. So, but that was okay because they knew that I needed them to do it, but they knew that I was telling them in a respectful way. So I think that was what I always tried to do, to keep more teachers there so we wouldn't have to keep replacing teachers.
Right. And since you're in that first level, you have the kids who are, graduating seniors at the collegiate level who are going into the profession. Right. And so you're that delicate, just like Chris is at his program, or developing the teachers for the first time. Right. Where you can. So it's really hard to really kind of help them understand what they're going to walk into at the same time, developing.
And so mine is really good. And well, both of my programs are great, okay, for different people and different reasons. But the University of Houston downtown, I think that one is really helpful for those brand new people coming in, because the research is showing, as we are working with US Prep, which I don't know if any of you are familiar with, the university state partnership to rejuvenate teacher or renewal of teacher education programs. But we are a paid residency for most of them. And so they're paid, which is another problem, is that when people had to student teach, many of them had to quit, right? So they didn't feel they had to do this free work. So they're getting to work, and it's because it's over 2 semesters. Our research is showing that they're staying for the long haul longer because they've had the time to get used to what are going to be the responsibilities for me in the classroom.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Chris, how about you? Another teacher program that you're developing teachers from the beginning.
Well, to echo what I've heard here, we also have seen, it kind of trickles down with people either leaving the profession sooner or not going in. I guess we see both sides of it. So since we are with districts across the country, we have seen to some extent fewer people that want to come into teaching. The other side, though, is we every day get to work with classrooms full of people that want to be teachers. And we get to work with schools that are excited to have our interns and our student teachers. And so, what I would say, and I'm sure that my colleagues here would echo that, is the reality is, yes, we do. There are fewer people going into it. But at the same time, those that are going into it are doing so, like I said at the beginning, because of great teachers and influencers. And so my message to those in K-12 right now is you're the best advocate for the profession. Is what you say about the profession and how you behave, or what you don't say about it, speaks volumes to those kids.
Absolutely. I echo that, and I wish everybody also echoes that, because it's so important what we say about our profession. It's so valuable. It's like what Josh says, it's the profession that makes all the professions, right? Nora, you do the teacher going into administrator.
Right.
So when did you witness or feel that effect of the exodus of people leaving the profession?
And I have seen it simply because I see the trends in our enrollment at the graduate school for teachers that are becoming administrators. And right now in El Paso, there are big districts that are not making the budget, the necessary budget cuts. And so unfortunately, one district is letting go of teachers in the elementary teachers, the fine arts teachers, and the CTE teachers. And then another district is following suit with that. The other districts have put a hiring freeze. So people that are in teaching are thinking twice about becoming administrators because then they're afraid to leave their job, right? So I think it's negative because it hurts such an important profession.
Yes, yes, yeah. And you know what? You just said it. We are the administrators or programs are the first to let go CTE, fine arts, your non core classes, right? And that's sad because that's why kids come to school. They come to school because of those CTE classes. They come to school because of those fun classes that they enjoy doing so much, and yet those are the first to go. It's really sad, and I my heart breaks, and I wish we would fix that problem, right? Because
Yes.
I know in Texas we have a big funding problem.
Yes, and it's really hard because I talk to my students that want to become administrators, and I ask them about the benefits of PE, of music, and CTE, and yes, they're all there. And you're right, kids come to school so that they can play in the band. They come to school to sing. And so never mind all of the stuff that second language learners can participate in. But I think it just hurts us in every possible way.
And I just love what Edwin Garcia just said, where he said, have stay interviews, because we're so quick to learn about, thank you, Josh, for putting that back up again. Where we have those exit interviews, you know what? It's already too late when they're already decided to leave and they're exiting and we want to know why they're leaving. We need to kind of look at why,
That's right.
I'm so glad you're staying. How can we do better? It's those kinds of interviews that we also need to kind of keep track of. So thank you, Edwin, for saying, for those comments. Josh, take it away.
And just to piggyback on what Chris said, look, this thing, I go to conferences and I present on social media. All right. I do that. I know the power of social media. But if we know there's a deficit, and hey, team member in the classroom, if you're tired of not having a substitute and you have to cover the class, even though you're getting compensated for it, don't go on Facebook complaining that you had to cover the class and you'd have a conference. What you're doing is you're spraying yourself in the face for more of that torture. Go yell at your AP. They have to take it. Go yell at your principal. They have to take it. That's fine. But don't vent out there. You have enough people on Facebook venting against us. We don't need to be shooting ourselves on the foot. And so that person that was either going through criminal justice to become a lawyer, that person that was in Google and wants to give back to CT, whatever, you're turning them off because they're listening to you. You are the horse's mouth, and they're reading your post. And then there's some knucklehead that got in trouble when he was in high school and hates teachers. He's adding to your thing. So please, let us not shoot each other in the foot in our profession. Chris, so valid, such a valid point. Yes, vent. Yes, amendment number 1. But in the end, you're really hurting the whole institution. There are places and times, and you know what? Right now is the best time for free agency, baby. If you ain't happy at that school, go somewhere else. Trust me, there is a spot for you. I guarantee you right now. I don't know, back in the caveman time when I used to hire people, there were like 10 pages, right, Dr. Paul? There are 10 pages of candidates. Now we're lucky if we have 3 to make the quota.
That's right.
3 to make the quota. So thinking of that, let's keep that in the back of our mind. Mary, I'm going to ask you this question. With your experience, both at the campus level, central office level, and teaching future teachers, administrators. What do you see can be done between the colleges? And this is for everybody here, okay? I know there's MOUs. I know there's MOUs that we already do with high schools. We have magnet schools that create those things. Nora had some good magnet schools. You know, many places have magnet schools. But this is not what we're addressing. We're not addressing the medical field. We're not addressing all those things. We're addressing specifically the pipeline for educators. So before I hand it over to you, Nora, shout out to Jefe, Principal Cafele. Thank you for being here. Fantastic Four family. Juanita Gandara. Her book, we got to promote it here from El Paso. Also, thank you for being here. Constance Sherrard, Fantastic Four family. Thank you for being here. Nora, what? I apologize. Mary, I said Mary. I'm old. I'm getting there. So, Mary, what can ISDs, school districts, that's what we call them in Texas, what can school districts and colleges do better to create that pipeline, not only for teachers in the classroom, but administrators?
So we're working at the University of Houston downtown. We have great working relationships with our districts, right? As we build these residencies. So our university, our academic faculty will come out and they visit, because I told them when I went in, I said, here was the big disconnect. I don't see that we know that what our teachers really need. So they started to come out, and many of them visited my classes. And then, you know, with my student teachers in there. And then this year they were required as part of their contract to come and visit, to sit with us, the clinical people. And then we have meetings that are governance meetings where our districts that we serve meet with the university, and we talk about what do we need, what needs to be done. I mean, I talk with one of my districts all the time about what it is and where we're going to put students and where they're needed. And it's the relationships have to be built. And that is what I'm just so proud to say that UHD is doing that. They are building great relationships with our districts that, that receive our student teachers.
Great. Thank you, Mary. Nora, El Paso is kind of like in a unique situation just by geography, because I learned something when I moved over here to North Dallas. There's tons of universities and colleges that feed those pipelines, right? But
Yes.
we're carved out in a niche. What is your idea? And then I'll pass it over to Lisa. What do you think can be done better to enhance those pools?
So I feel that, I think back to what Lisa was saying, and she talked about the pandemic. But one of the things that we needed during the pandemic was quality teachers. And I think that we forget that. And I think that we need to continue to highlight all the great things that teachers do. And I think that we don't do that well enough, because I think that a good teacher is not only a content expert, but they're a counselor. They help the students if there's an issue at home, and they're the go-to person. And I don't think that we highlight that enough. Some people might say, okay, it's too much, but you know what? It's important. It's important. Our future generation depend on us.
Thank you. Lisa, what do you got to add there for the 915 region?
Yes, to tail back on what Dr. Paz said, in my mind, I feel like, Sul Ross State University is really doing their best to advertise a lot in El Paso, because a lot of people from El Paso go to Sul Ross, especially because the grad school is fully online. Although, UTEP, Sul Ross, other universities, NMSU, a lot of people go to NMSU and stay in El Paso, of course. There needs to be more heavy marketing from all universities in the sense of what is good about teaching and why we need great teachers, like you were saying, Dr. Pa, because like you were saying, Josh, like for example, at Coronado High School, we've been trying to fill a couple of social studies positions all year, and the pool is like almost zero.
Mm.
Yes, it took me a couple of months to fill an English position. I reached out to, and when I was getting ready to do that, there were, I think, about 20 people that I reached out to. 7 responded. You know how many I interviewed? 3 for that position. And so it's really tough. And I just feel like universities and school districts need to connect more and really do some really heavy marketing, like positive, optimistic marketing campaigns in a sense, to be able to put out there what's good about teaching as opposed to, you know, the opposite, because there are a ton of teachers on social media, on TikTok and everywhere else, talking about how they hate it, how they're so exhausted, how they want to get out. And there's probably more of those than the opposite. So it's rough. It's, you know, more of us need to be talking about these things.
Agreed. Chris, what does Kansas look like?
Well, probably much like the rest of the state. I know a colleague of mine always checks the job board, and we'll typically, as a state, you know, start the year with 1,000 unlicensed positions. Now, you know, Kansas isn't as big as some of the other states, but with a little under 4 million people, that's still pretty big. So yeah, we're seeing the same things, but at the same time, like I said, we're doing our best to certainly work with our districts, build the pipeline with CTE programs so high school kids can see that, and you know, just different things that I'm sure everyone else is also pursuing.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing out there your thoughts, your wisdom, because it's just crucial, guys. Look, whenever you look your rattiest and you're wearing a cap and you're wearing your shades with your bunny shoes and you went to go get a pizza, that's when the kid that really gave you a hard time notices you, because they were never absent. That kid was never absent. The one that gave you a hard time never missed a day in school, but he or she will look at you and say, Miss Paul, is that you?
That literally happened to me 2 weeks ago.
And then you're like, ah!
Oh, man.
And that's when you get the blank paycheck, baby. That's what you should post on social media.
Yes.
That a kid from years ago recognized you at your rattiest and said that you changed their lives. We see more of those. We go back to 10 pages of candidates. Dr. Moreno, take it away.
Oh my God, Lisa, I feel you. I feel you. It's when you have that kid years later and you're looking like crap. This is awful. But I hear you. I hear you. So, okay, you guys, let's move on to kind of support in our classrooms. And so, as the field, as our field evolves, right? And Chris, I'm going to start off with you today, or this next question. As our field evolves and more AltCert team members join and go into these classrooms, what do you recommend that school administrators do to prepare them? Because I know administrators are all over the place, right? There's so many things going on, but we have to make sure that we support our brand new teachers. So what do you recommend that school administrators do to prepare them? Because we want to keep them. If not, they're going to say, you know what, I'm not supporting them. Peace out. I'm getting out of here. And for those brand new APs, or principals, how can those people get supported as well? Okay, so what do you think? I know it's a big question.
Well, I appreciate the question, Marie. I think, like anyone, certainly, and we have many AltCert students where I work as well, maybe more than traditional anymore. I think the more that you can both formally and informally provide them mentorship. Because one thing that we know about AltCert, to do it well, not only do they need mentorship during it, they preferably need a methods course, but they also need that first 3 years, and most of our accreditation agencies, require us to try to track them for 3 years or so. We say we'll get them first day ready, okay? But then it's the culture and climate of the school, for better or for worse, is going to take over, where they are going to, a new teacher doesn't roll off the assembly line at college graduation. They roll off at about the end of year 3 as a teacher. And so, I say they're like one of those take and bake pizzas, they're not quite done. We send them to the school and then you finish them off. But I would say mentoring with intentionality on how to be what I call classroom teacher leaders. It's very important, and the more positive examples you can give them, the more support. It's not a cure all, but I do think it would go a long way to retaining all teachers, certainly statistically the alt cert teachers.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Those first 5 years or so, I tell people you're not really ready until like maybe 5 years into being a teacher, because that's when you have all your classroom management out of the way, you had your methodology out of the way, you have all of your all of the classroom management, all of that's done, right? After your 3 to 5 years. Nora, how about you?
Well, it's interesting. Josh had talked about my large school, and it was very large. And so I also had a lot of alternative certified teachers as well. And so those alt cert people don't go the traditional route through college, right? And so what I did is I used to have, well, initially, I had set up a meeting for, let's say, for all the new teachers to go over all the acronyms in special education, right? Because there are so many. And so, we did all of that. And so I asked them, okay, do you have questions? And no one raised their hands. And so I remembered a commercial that I had seen, and I said, okay, we're in Vegas right now. What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, right? I said, so now do you have questions? And so then one teacher raised his hand and he said, okay, no matter what we say, we're not going to get in trouble. I said, well, if you hurt a child, we have to talk. Okay. I said, but pretty much we're okay. And so he raised his hand and he said, okay, I didn't take attendance my first month. And so then other teachers raised their hands. I didn't either. And it's like, oh my God. And I probably reacted the way I shouldn't have. But I mean, it was something simple, to get them together. And because they didn't go the traditional route of education, to just sit down, okay, these are the things that you need to do. Let's talk about it. And you can't attack them unless they hurt a child. Then we have to talk. But otherwise, they need help.
Yeah. It's kind of what Chris says. We need to mentor them, right? And I know there's a lot of ISDs that do kind of have a mentorship program where they have a new teacher with a more experienced teacher, and they, meet with them, weekly or whatnot. So you're absolutely right. Nora, and any advice for those principals or assistant principals going into that chair? How can they be supported? Because guess what? They need support too. I remember my first year as a principal, and I thought I was going to drown.
Yes. And, so here's the thing. You have to be able to communicate with other principals. And so it's lonely at the top. And so sometimes you are afraid to ask for help. So you can call another principal and say, okay, we just received this report. What do we have to do? And then I've found that everyone feels that way. And, there's safety in numbers. So then we could figure it out. But you have to be able to rely on somebody. I continue to get calls from administrators that I mentored and that went through my program at UTEP. So you have to be able to talk to someone.
And most assistant principals or principals are afraid to do that, right? They feel like they're at the top. It's lonely. And, it goes back to, growing your PLN, talking to someone, maybe not even in your district, but just talking to someone, getting some advice. So absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you. Lisa, how about you? You also work with teachers going into administration. So how do you support them, and or you can talk about the alt search?
So just yesterday, one of my students in one of the courses I'm teaching right now for Sol Ross, she's having some difficulty with an assignment, and she's making it more difficult than it is. And she said, oh, I've emailed this person, that person, but they haven't responded. I said, honey, you need to go find that person in person. I said, if you want to be a principal, you need to be resourceful. You need to go find the people that you need to help you. It's okay to ask for help. So exactly what we're talking about. And, she's a drama teacher, so she's not accustomed to talking with a lot of teachers, and I had to have that talk with her, with other students from my courses with Sol Ross as well, where they're very shy. They don't want to go out and ask for help. I'm like, listen, if you want to be a leader, you need to network, you need to talk, you need to go out there and hit the pavement and ask for help. Even with 29 years in for myself, I've been in the principal chair, and I'm an assistant principal at a high school now, and I ask for help every day. And we have to normalize that even in our positions as administrators, that it's okay to ask for help, and we need others to do our job well. And that's for teachers, for administrators.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing, Lisa. How about you, Mary? Any advice?
Well, I think when you're in the leadership role, you feel vulnerable, and you're afraid to ask. You're afraid that someone's going to write you up or something because you asked a question, or just depending on with whom you're working, that it's sometimes scary. But from working on the campus, what I had found, that I had an aspiring assistant principal, and I had always had monthly meetings with the new teachers. And so I assigned her to, as part of kind of an internship, for her to take over that role. But what we did is we made a calendar of everything those new teachers would need to know for that month, not for the whole year so much, because that's too much, just for that month. What did they need to do? And then I think they were more comfortable maybe asking her questions, because I excused myself. I would go in and welcome them and make sure everybody was happy, had their little breakfast idea, that I would leave and leave it to her. So it built for her some agency, but then they felt more comfortable talking with somebody that was their own as a teacher.
An aspiring leader, right? An aspiring principal. So that is great, because it kind of breaks down that trust, right? It allows people, or allows the teachers to kind of talk to someone who they will see as an equal, because they're not really kind of crossed the line just yet. We had another episode where we talked about moving from teacher to assistant principal, because that's already tough as it is, right? When you actually cross over to the other side. But yeah, Mary, that's a great idea. Having an aspiring principal or aspiring assistant principal be the lead to support brand new teachers on your campus, so that they can kind of feel, welcome. They can feel trust. They can feel like they can pretty much ask them anything. So awesome. Thank you, Mary.
So welcome to Rella Hicks, part of the Fantastic Four family. Thank you for joining us. Edwin's on fire. Ranu Maraj from the country of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you for being here once again. David, thank you. Amen. Oh, Lord, it's testing season. We need a lot of amens right now. It's testing across the country. Facts, Jack. All right. So we're going to keep this question relevant to the people or the team members you support. So Nora and Lisa, I'm asking you this question on the admin side, and Chris and Mary on the classroom facilitator side, okay? We know these are the top two things in a classroom, on a campus: discipline and delivery of instruction. You can't have one without the other. Those go hand in hand, all right? So I'm just hypothetically and practically, if there was not a freeze, I was able to hire 2 PE teachers, but there's a freeze. And that they would be able to come in already. So let's say we just hired somebody starting on Monday, and you have to give him, or an AP or principal, doesn't matter which one, whatever you want to take, give him a nugget on how to deal with discipline at that level and how to deal with delivery of instruction at that level. Make sense? So from the classroom level, Chris, discipline and delivery of instruction, and Nora from the admin level, discipline and delivery of instruction. We're going to start off with Mary.
Okay, so as far as the discipline, I have told them that that's number one. You've got to have your routines, your procedures, expectations, all of it in place. And if you're consistent, it's going to work for you. Okay, you just have to be maybe kind of rough at first, but you've got to be consistent. And I asked them to go back and look at Flip Flippin' and his Capturing Kids' Hearts about how you write the expectations. You know what you want, but you give it up to the students. And then as far as like their instruction, I have them writing exemplars. I say, write everything down you're going to say. You put the questions you're going to ask. You write down those higher order questions for challenging. For your friends that are kind of just right there, or maybe not approaching right there, then you write questions so they can be validated and being part of it too. But making sure that you are looking at what you want your, always go with the 4 PLC questions. What do you want your kids to know? How are you going to know if they learned it? What are you going to do if they haven't? And what are you going to do for those who've already learned it? And if all of that can be in that lesson plan, you're going to be successful.
Chris.
Well, actually, I echo what Mary said. Is in many ways, you can't teach if you can't manage your classroom. And if we're just throwing them in tomorrow and I'm giving them an elevator speech, is establish your expectations, set your boundaries, give kids grace, and be willing to be vulnerable as a teacher. And the other thing is, right on with instruction is keep it simple. What do you want to teach them? How are you going to teach them? And how are you going to know that you taught them that through some form of assessment?
Awesome. As that great 21st century scholar Mike Tyson states, everyone has a plan for him until they got punched in the mouth. And all it takes is that first period, first 5 minutes, baby. Your parent deck out the window. Your anchor charts out the window. Everything's out the window until you make sure you take structures. And Mary, sometimes you got to go in there and, baby. There's only one chief here. It's facts. All right. From the admin point of view, Lisa, delivery of instruction, discipline.
So I like what Mary talked about, capturing kids' hearts. I'm a huge advocate of capturing kids' hearts. And it goes, number one, I'm one of the biggest things I advocate, whether it's supporting teachers in the classroom with discipline, with classroom management, with delivery of instruction, you gotta build relationships with kids. You gotta get to know who they are. And it's like that, it may sound cliche, but you got to capture their heart before you capture their head, before you capture their mind. And building relationships is number one. I would tell teachers, teach the student, not the subject. Get to know who they are. Be flexible, be fair, be firm, but flexible, be curious, model what you want to see. Because if you don't model what you want to see, then it's not going to happen. And no lesson is ever going to be perfect. And it's not about perfection. It's about aiming for that reflection that every student needs to have so that you know that they're learning what they need to learn and what you want them to learn. So just keep moving forward and all of that.
All right. Nora?
Teachers are afraid of the discipline and all the parameters that come with discipline. So I would review their discipline charts, and there were so many rules. It was just, I told them, you're painting yourself into a corner. You're not enjoying the content, because when you went through college, you enjoyed all of these classes. That's why you wanted to teach. And so I look at, one teacher even had that the student was going to sit in their desk with the feet planted firmly on the ground in front of them. It was just crazy. So and I told them, relax, enjoy your content, because, if something gets out of hand, we'll handle it. The administration administrator will handle it. Otherwise, just teach your content area.
And real quick, Lisa and Nora, give me something from the admin point of view. Brand new baby AP, brand new baby principal.
You know, the brand new AP, I used to tell them, okay, you have to get to know the students. You can't discipline the students without knowing them. And so ask them questions, ask them about, the incident, and let them tell you. Otherwise, because if you go in with preconceived ideas, it's gonna backfire tremendously.
Lisa?
100%. Same. Need to get to know the students and the teachers. Like, get to know who you're working with and what they're working with. Get to know the students. Get to know where they're coming from, and do your best to manage your time in an effective way. Use your calendar. Your calendar is your friend, because that can get away from us. I remember my first few years as an assistant principal, time management. If you don't get a hold of that, it'll get a hold of you. So that's part of my advice.
That's
Awesome.
true.
Very true. Dr. Moreno.
Okay, guys. So social emotional learning, that is huge, right? As far as also making sure that we take care of ourselves, right? As far as SEL for the adults. So just like our previous question and our one nugget, I'm going to ask Chris and Mary to provide the one or two piece of nuggets for you to share for supporting the administrators who face all these different stressful days that they have, right? So what do you ask, or what ideas can you give administrators for Chris and Mary at the teacher level, and of course Nora and Lisa for the admin level? Okay, so Mary, let's start off with you. What advice or what ideas can you help those teachers out there, the adults, with social emotional learning, taking care of themselves, right?
Taking care of themselves. Well, I even ask them, I will say, what are you doing to relax, to de-stress? So, and we talk about it. What do you like to do? And finding out ways for them to just enjoy life, telling them that, let's do a walking. Even when I was on a campus, some of them, we'd meet after school and we do a walking club to kind of de-stress and just share ideas. I used to do pop-up, when I was an administrator, I did pop-up snack bars in my office where I would have whatever they wanted. They could come by, but it was, again, just a safe place where they could come by just and talk to me about what's going on with their families. So within your teams of teachers, if they can do that, like let's say you've got your first grade team where you get together, how are you going to celebrate? You're celebrating the good things that are going on with the individuals, but how are you doing that? Or maybe you're having everybody bring their favorite chocolate chip cookie recipe and you're doing a tasting of that. There's all kinds of ways. Looking at everybody's first grade pictures, just getting a good laugh. And then finding ways to meet after school, whether you're going to go do bowling or you want to do whatever, to just relax and enjoy, even with your team, but with your family as well. I hope I've answered that the way.
No, Mary, and that's exactly, because you know what happens at our homes, what happens in our lives, that transpires into how we teach in our classrooms, right? And so it's important for us to even de-stress, or just talk to somebody, or enjoy, like you said, a sundae or a cup of ice, something in your office, just to kind of have that safe space, because it's so important for teachers to de-stress a little bit. I call it unplug. You need to unplug yourself. Because especially when you're working with newcomers that have all of these different challenges, you kind of like start, getting yourself too involved sometimes, and you just kind of get really stressed out. So Mary, thank you so much for sharing. Chris, how about you? How do you support your teachers with their social emotional learning, with their taking care of themselves?
Well, just in terms of how we maybe relay that to our teacher candidates, Well, I would say is, and I think we do a better job than we did maybe 10 years ago in the profession. But the analogy I use with our students is, I say, how many of you, if your cell phone battery gets down to 60%, you get a little concerned? Because, oh my gosh, we can't let it get down to 60%, but you'll let yourself get down to 5 before you take care of yourself. And so it's just the idea, and I do think students, that this generation is better maybe than some, certainly my generation was, but just giving them the permission and maybe the language sometime to set those boundaries, to take that space and to do those things that they know are going to really fill their bucket and in many ways recharge them both personally and professionally.
I love how you said that, how we have to almost give them that permission, right? To kind of let them say, it's okay for me to, de-stress. It's okay for me to let go. Cause we have all of these requirements that we have to do and testing and all of these things. And so how do we kind of help them, and making sure that administrators identify those teachers that are struggling so that we can kind of tap into them and saying, hey, are you okay? And allowing them to know that we see you, we know you, we understand, and we're here to support you. Awesome. Awesome. Lisa and Nora, you guys get the same question, but only at the AP principal level, because guys, you guys know that principals are stressed out, right?
Yes.
Testing is coming around, and I don't know how it is in other states, but in Texas, if you don't perform, then right?
Yeah.
I get it. I remember I was around this time we're testing about end of May. Here I am I was so stressed out waiting for those scores to come in because I wanted to see, did we make it? Did we make the threshold? So Nora, how would you support or help a AP principal taking care of themselves?
Well, what I used to tell my faculty, because the faculty takes care of the students, the APs take care of their departments, their grade level, whatever. So I always would tell them, you can't take care of anyone if you don't take care of yourself. So you have to, go celebrate that birthday party, have the Easter egg hunt, right? For your child. You have to do things that rejuvenate you, because you're always better when you come back.
Yeah, absolutely. I know a friend of mine who always said, you have to be selfish to be selfless. Like you have to take care of yourself first, right? In order for you to take care of others. So you're absolutely right, Nora. Thank you so much. How about you, Lisa? What advice or what nugget can you give an AP or principal to take care of themselves?
So it brings me back to the days when I was in grad school with Mr. Josh Tovar. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Sharpen the saw, right, Mr. Tovar?
Sharpen the saw.
That's right. And so like Nora said, and what we're all saying here is, and I'm not the best at taking care of myself, but I've had to push myself to get better at it, because again, if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of others, right? And like Nora said, the teachers take care of the students. We as the admin team take care of the teachers. And if we're not doing well, if we're not sharpening the saw and unplugging and disconnecting, then we're not going to do the best job that we need to, and that we can do, and that we must do, if we're not taking care of ourselves. So that's advice that I give to aspiring assistant principals and principals, is that you've got to make time to take care of you. It's a non-negotiable. If you need to put it on your calendar, put it on your calendar. That's what I say.
Yeah. If your calendar is anything like my calendar was, if it's not on the calendar, it ain't gonna happen, right?
Like literally, if I have to go to a yoga class, I'm putting it on my calendar so that everybody else sees it, because I'm going to yoga at 5 o'clock on Friday or whatever day.
No, absolutely. I get it. I get it. I remember I used to do the same thing, right? I had to put it on my calendar, and my secretary would say, don't you have somewhere to go? And I was like, you know what? Thank you for
Yes.
reminding me. But you're right. We have to. We have to do that.
And that's the part of the loneliness of the chair.
Yeah.
Because, look, after 30 years, there's a level of you don't care, right? You just speak the truth. Look,
That's a fact.
Certain
When you-
days, I mean, yeah.
when you have the chair, not the AP chair, no disrespect to anybody, because I did it for 13 years. When you have the chair, you can't not be on 24/7.
Have your game face on every day.
You can't, because you know what? It doesn't matter what happens. Alpha and Omega stops at your chair. If
Absolutely.
the old lady falls in front of your school because the payment was off,
Right.
they're gonna come and see you.
Yes.
If you did not have enough growth in one special area, they're gonna go see you. If the cheerleading mom wants her girl to not be a flyer but a base or base and flyer, whatever nonsense, they're not gonna see anybody. They're gonna see you, and you're still responsible for your letter grade. So I understand those workaholics. Trust me, I understand you. You can't find that time because in the end, you don't want to be demoted, because that's part of what happens in his book. He talks about that. And that's the reality. Any administrator out there, call me a liar. You know that there's awkward conversations that you get brought into that special room. You know the conference room.
I know that room.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yes.
And some of you don't know what the hell I just said. I'm glad you don't. Because when you're in the room by yourself, you don't got those people behind you saying, hey, go to yoga class. They don't got, you are by yourself and you're thinking of your livelihood and the current state of the financial status you have for your family. And if you go somewhere else because we find you a better fit in this school and you take a paycheck cut for what your family is used to, it's hard to go to work out in the morning. It's hard not to be on point. And I'm sorry, this is not talked about by Marzano. This is not talked about by whoever it is. Nobody talks about this, but that's the fact about the chair. So it's very crucial that all of us keep that in the back of our mind, especially when you apply at an F school.
Josh, I missed that gym meeting because the superintendent was calling me.
Right.
I was like, you know what? Sorry, Jim. Boss lady's calling me. And you know what? I had no idea what she called me for. But let me tell you, no one else was being called. I was being called. Right. And so, just like some people are really nervous, like, oh my God, the principal's calling me. Guess what? Principals get called to the superintendent's office. And when that phone call happens or that email happens, please report to the superintendent's conference room. Man, it's like, persínate, just say, I hope I still have a job.
And this is not to be Debbie Downer, but this is a real show where we tell you what the facts of what many people have faced. I'll say it. I faced it. I faced it a couple of times. And so all I'm stating to you is that, yeah, we talk about SEL, but when you have the main chair, as Nora said, it's a damn lonely chair, baby. And people say, oh, you don't have to be alone in that chair. Well, that person that told me that in New Mexico does not have to be in the conference room with the superintendent.
Yeah.
So those are just things to think about as you do find that way. Because the only time I find a ways to work out is at 3 a.m. So that's you have to literally carve a niche for yourself to make sure that you do take care of your sanity. And talking about caring for sanity, it's about reading also. Commercial break. Check out Superintendent Glenn Robbins' book. Talks about the dark side of education, and Educator, if you weren't here when he introduced his other book, Chaos, Calm in the Chaos, the Stoics. And Kevin Curtis, Restorative Practices. If you're having issues, we call it T-test. We're doing observations and closing of summatives. Hey, if you need to have some awkward conversations about classroom management, this tells you A, B, C, 1, 2, 3. And if you have to go that special plan thing, you know what I'm talking about? This is a great tool. And if you need inspiration, this one guy right here, 23 stories by 23 inspirational educators. This guy is on chapter 23. So if you need an inspirational story, I got you covered on 23. So we're about to close the book. And Principal Cafele, I see you right there. Yes, sir. It's a lonely chair, Jefe. It's a lonely. Hey, Constance Gerard, I'm talking about it because, ooh, that chair is hot, baby. Woo, especially when those scores, you're waiting for the scores. It's burning hot. Flip the camera on, brother. Everything is reversed. Oh, yeah.
For the books. For the books.
All right, I'll get that on the next one. Thank you. He always has my back. We're about to close off the show real quick. So what advice, real quick, I'm going to give you 3 topics, guys. Pick one of the 3, all right? We're starting off with you, Lisa. Advice to a new team member. It doesn't matter about admin or teacher, okay? Doesn't matter. You know, when they walk into a campus, they got to worry about either campus culture, all the daily tasks, because they're different at an elementary, as a middle school and a high school, early college, a magnet school. They're all different. A magnet school inside of a high school, they're totally different because of MOUs and requirements and kids' attendances all over the place. It's all cray-cray, right? So give advice to a new team member, pick your choice of how they handle campus culture or the daily tasks or parent apathy. I don't care what you want to take, but all those are very crucial and can destroy a team member year 1. Facts?
Absolutely.
Lisa, pick one of them.
Okay, well, I'm going to start with a quote in reference to the support. So what I tell new folks, whether it's an administrator or a teacher, is, of course, I talked about relationships. You have to build relationships with people. You can't live on an island wherever you're at. And I'll go to the quote, the famous Maya Angelou quote that states, people will forget what you did, people will forget what you said, but people will never forget how you made them feel. So it's all in the approach of how you handle things, because if you go with a really negative and aggressive approach, especially like, for example, with difficult parents, it's not going to go well. So it's all in the approach. Be intentional, be relational, and focus on the optimism and the positivity, even in a negative situation.
Nora?
You know, I always tell my new teachers, my new administrators, enjoy the job because it's the best job ever. Yes, there are, things that happen that can demoralize you, but you have to enjoy it. There are times that we will bust a gut laughing, and we're getting paid, people, okay? So you have to enjoy the job and find the pockets of enjoyment and go with it. Everything else can be fixed.
Mary?
I have the same quote as Lisa, the Maya Angelou quote about people may not remember what you said to them or what they did, but they will always remember how they made you feel. And with parents, I always stress to the student teachers, this is your opportunity from the start to build those strong, positive relationships through notes home, however your district wants you to communicate, because then when those tough conversations come up, you've already built that stronger relationship to where they will not be as surprised or defensive about it. They will know, oh, well, she's always been very positive with me. This must be a problem, and I'm going to work with you. And I always say, tell them that, just a little bit, can we work together to solve this problem? So.
Thank you. Hey, Jefe, I know you're there. No, not flip the camera. What do you mean by this one, Jefe? Lonely chair. You'll debate anyone on that. What do you mean by that? You'll debate, yes, it is lonely, or you'll debate, no, it's not lonely. I'm interested in that one right there. I don't know. What does Jefe mean by that one? All right. Chris, talk to us.
Well, obviously what has been said before is great, so I'll just maybe build upon that. And whether it's a teacher or somebody I'm onboarding, we talk about relationships, we talk about culture. I always say, I hire for talent, because between God and your mama, it got left out, I can't put it back in. And so, I mean, there are some things that, but the other thing that I tell everyone is that you are uniquely prepared to do this. Teachers have superpowers that most people don't. And the job, you know why it's hard, is because it's hard. It's a hard job. Not everyone's called to do it. And all those things that you have said, yes, you have great fun with colleagues. You have stories that people think you made up. But at the end of the day, give yourself permission. The job's hard because it's a hard job. And most normal humans can't do it. But we work with people every day that we're called to do it. You know, Michael Jordan still broke a sweat. He was still one of the best on the court, right? Had to work at it. Same thing with our teachers.
Amen. Exactly. Yes, Hefe, it is. You know, there's a few podcasts, a very small number, that a guest comes out and says, no, you don't have to be alone in the chair. You don't. Está loco. Está loco. Está loco. That's someone that never had or walked into a already set school and was state said, hey, we're campus. Hold on, man. It's a lonely chair, baby. Especially with all these accountability. Está loco.
Amen.
So, I just say that. All right, Dr. Moreno. One more, and then we got the Échale Ganas questions.
One more question, you all, and it's a fill in the blank. Okay, it's a super, super easy one. And we're going to start off with Chris, because I think you got a phenomenal answer for me. So finish the statement. If I were in charge of the education system, Your Highness, okay, I would blank to make it better.
Oh, wow. Put me on the spot, Dr. Moreno. I would, you know what comes to my mind, first of all? I would make sure that we tell our story. I would make sure that we tell our story and understand that we need to support kids, all kids at every level, and that teachers are some of the hardest working people out there. And if we could come together and understand that what we do is important and focus on the positive, which is 90% of it, but just don't watch, you know, if we choose to watch the wrong TikToks, we'll get all stressed out. But I don't know if Dr. Moreno, if that's where you wanted to go, but it's not a real political answer, but it is an honest answer.
It's honest.
That's what I would do. We got to tell our story, and people need to all be part of what we're doing for our kids.
No, I love that. I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much. Mary, how about you? If I were in charge of the education system, I would blank to make it better.
So I would just work tirelessly to do that. But the most important thing I would do is try to bring that feeling of teachers feeling appreciated. Because when they feel appreciated, then they're going to want to work harder.
Absolutely. Absolutely. How about you, Nora? If I were in charge of the education system, I would blank to make it better.
I would pay teachers what they're worth.
Awesome. You know what, Nora? That is right there. Awesome. I love it. I think we are underfunding our teachers.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. Yes. Lisa, how about you? If I were in charge of the education system, I would blank to make it better.
I would require anyone who's wanting or thinking about going into education to take leadership courses, literally, on how leadership is a part of a classroom, is a part of dealing with parents, is a part of the culture of a school. And it just, because there are so many teachers that I've heard, well, I'm just a teacher. And I tell them, no, you're not just a teacher.
Yes.
You're so much more. They don't see themselves as leaders. And so, and to be honest, even some administrators, like I've worked in a lot of different schools with a lot of different personalities, and some people go into it for the wrong reasons. And their leadership style is, ruled by the iron fist. And to me, that doesn't get results that we need and that we want for kids and what is required for them to be successful. So leadership is something that people lack in understanding, I would say.
I love that because teachers are leaders. They're leaders of their classroom and they're leaders of other leaders, right? And they need to see
Yes.
themselves as that, right? You never know who is actually in the background kind of watching what you're doing, right? And so it's important for all of us to kind of see ourselves in that. So thank you so much for bringing that up. And we have to see ourselves and look at ourselves as leaders in our classrooms, in our school buildings, in our school districts. So thank you so much, panel. I'm gonna give it back to Josh and get ready for the lightning round of Échale Ganas. Tell people, Josh, out there, what does Ganas stand for?
All right. Now, you see, I can't pick on Chris because Chris is a Mexicano by proxy. All the times he went to Mexico as a
Yes.
college student.
Yes.
But hey, I know we've got New Jersey in the house. I know we've got New York in the house. Ganas. Look, guys, it doesn't matter where you're from. Si eres de México, eres de Panamá, eres de El Salvador, eres boricua, eres cubano, eres nicaragüense o hondureño. We all use one common. We don't eat the same. I've learned that. We do not eat the same at all. I thought we did. We don't. We're not a monolith with food. But there's one word that unites every single last Hispanic. So get this out there. And there is no equate. There is no equate to this word because it's spiritual and it's ganas. That's why it's called the PGP podcast. Puras ganas. And that's when you hear an abuelita, a grandma, yell at her daughter playing the violin at the mariachi. Échale ganas, mija. Or you got an uncle that lives somewhere else and comes in. He doesn't have a suit, but he found a suit to fit the best he could at graduation. And he gives her a gift card and says, Le echaste ganas, mija. And then you got that beautiful, special football mom that we all love, that wants her son to be the star quarterback at all levels, yells, Échale ganas, mija. That is what I need from all of you right now. Yo quiero que le echen ganas. I want you to say these words. Hey, it's not War and Peace, not a thesis, all right? It's a lightning round. The only one you could take time on is with number 2. That's why I gave you the questions. Those are the only questions I gave you, all right? So here we go. Quick and simple. And we're going to go with ladies first, Miss Mary. Hay que echarle ganas, amiga. Vamos. Give advice to a new teacher.
Have fun. It's the best thing you've ever done. Stay on the roller coaster. There'll be ups and downs, but it'll be worth it.
Read a note, an email, a text from a teacher or student that inspired you.
Still with me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I got a note from a teacher that was one of my French teachers, and she told me that she had changed to work at that school because of me, and that she appreciated all the professionalism I brought when I came to visit with her.
Eso. Send some flowers to a current educator who inspires you.
Oh, I've got that one down. So one of my mentor teachers of my residence has got Teacher of the Year, but she's done everything to build up her resident student teacher. And so, you know what? She is Teacher of the Year. Flowers to her. Yes.
¿Cómo se llama?
Her name is Christine Stewart.
Love it. Who should people follow on social media? Give me one name.
Ken Williams from Solution Tree.
Exactly. One song that embodies your spirit as a person. Una canción.
For me, it's Changes in Latitude.
What is your favorite quote? What's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote was the Maya Angelou one that I just had shared.
What's your favorite cheat food or sweet?
Cheap food? No, it's got to be queso and chips.
Queso and chips. Love it. All right. What's your favorite TV show or book?
It's that new Matlock, because people they ignore old people. I'm an old lady and I don't want to be ignored.
And if anybody wants to get a hold of your knowledge, your wisdom, how can they get a hold of you, Mary?
I'm on Facebook under Mary, M-E-R-I, Man Indras, or I'm on LinkedIn as Dr. Mary Indras. I don't do X for various reasons.
Got it. So reach out to her. She's got that knowledge. Nora Paul, boss lady, give advice to a new teacher.
Have fun. I'm like Mary. You have to have it.
Read a note, an email, a text from a teacher or student that inspired you.
You know, I received a note from a teacher that said, "You have made a difference in my life."
Send some flowers to a current educator who inspires you.
I would send flowers to Lisa Lopez.
Aw.
Aw.
Voy a llorar. Oh, name one person people should follow on social media.
I think that they should follow. Oh God, I'm trying to think. Khalife.
All right,
That's
all right.
Kelly.
But there you go, Jefe. What's one song that embodies your spirit as a person?
One song I think is "Joy to the World" by Three Dog Night.
All right. What's your favorite quote?
My favorite quote. I love Vince Lombardi. And I love the quote that says, "There is no second place. Either you're first place or you're last."
I love it. I despise second place. What's your favorite cheap food or sweet?
I love cake.
What kind?
I love chocolate cake.
What's your favorite TV show or book?
My favorite book is The Great Gatsby.
All right. And how can people get a hold of your former 915 self and now Georgia? How can they get a hold of you for knowledge, for wisdom?
Actually, if they go to norapaw@gmail, that would be perfect.
Awesome, awesome. Hey, Chris, I know what you just sent. Put it on the private chat so Mari could copy and paste it on the thread, okay?
What's that?
Send your
Oh,
name.
sure.
So Mari could put it. Lisa, you're next. Here we go.
Yes,
Give
sir.
advice to a new teacher.
Teach the student not just the subject and have fun.
Read a note, an email, a text from a teacher or student that inspires you.
So when I left one school to go to another, I got a ton of great messages. But one I just recently looked up, she said, "You are one of the best admins I've worked with. You are filled with compassion, drive, dedication, understanding, and so much more. Thank you for all that you have done for me and our faculty. You will be missed. As part of this school, it will never be the same." So that touched my heart.
Eso.
Still does.
Send some flowers to a current educator that inspires you.
Obviously, Nora Pa. We've been trying to get together for, I don't know, years, literally, like a couple years at least. So flowers to Nora Pa. Mwah.
Name one person people should follow on social media.
Dr. Brad Johnson. He's a leadership expert, excellence in focuses on teachers and leadership excellence. He's a keynote speaker. He's awesome.
Yes, he is. Chris, I did a bad job teaching and put it on the private chat here inside of the restream. That way Mari could copy and paste it and put it there.
Okay. I think I did. We'll
Oh, you
see.
did? Okay, my bad. It didn't pop up. I'm sorry. I'm holding up the lightning rod. My bad. Name one song. One song.
Titanium.
Huh?
I am titanium.
Titanium.
Titanium, because I get shot, but I get back up. They're not going to shoot me down.
All right. What's your favorite quote?
Maya Angelou quote: "People will forget what you did. People will forget what you said, but people will never forget how you made them feel."
Lisa. Favorite cheap food? Don't say chicken wings.
Dark chocolate. Dark chocolate.
All right.
100%.
What's your favorite TV show or book?
Currently, my favorite TV show is Schitt's Creek. I just love that show. Love it.
That's what you say. This is an adult show right here, not an adult show. How can people get a hold of you, T-Bird?
All right. So many ways. My personal email is lisa.lopez28@hotmail.com, lmlopez@episd.org. I'm on Facebook. I'm on X. I'm on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. And so, yeah, I can be reached at all those places.
And Dodd McGeever Cheever, just so you know, I forgot to mention this. Yes. Happy Palm Sunday to all of you today that celebrated El Día de las Palmas. Happy Palm Sunday to everybody out there. And Chris, when you finish, you got to talk about them books. You got to talk about that podcast. But before we get to question number 8, give advice to a new teacher.
Well, again, have fun, realize that you're always learning, and embrace the journey.
Read a note, an email, a text from a teacher or student that inspired you.
I had one a few years ago after the fact, and a student just reached out on Facebook and said, "Thank you. A lot of people judged me. You didn't. Your class was a safe space," and that meant the world to me.
Send some flowers to a current educator that inspires you.
You said a current educator. I would say my high school Spanish teacher really got me going many years ago, and I can't thank her enough for pointing me in that direction.
¿Cómo se llama?
Jennifer Sandberg.
You got to give her street cred, brother. All right. And
Yes,
one
sir.
person people should follow on social media.
Gentleman I just met at a conference in Florida. His name is Dr. Chris Hobbs, and he is a leader or superintendent of a private school, Christian school in Florida, and he does great work on LinkedIn.
What's one song that embodies your spirit?
Please forgive me. I'm from Western Nebraska. I would say Friends in Low Places by Garth Brooks.
Hey, brother, we've all heard that song at 2 a.m. when we were leaving, and we won't say from where. All right. What's your favorite quote?
It's by John Maxwell. I'm paraphrasing, but success is defined daily, not in a day.
What's your favorite cheat food or sweet?
I got to go with Lisa. If it's dark chocolate, I can't say no.
What's your favorite TV show or book?
Book. I will go with anything written by John Maxwell. Love him.
And people need to know about that podcast that you have, sir, and your books. Real quick, let them know.
Yeah. Hey, you can just go to cjleadership.com. And Josh has been on the podcast. I do work with higher ed, K-12, and I have a teacher leadership book coming out here in the fall with Road to Awesome Publishing. That's Darren Peppard, and really hoping that it'll add some value to people.
Beautiful. Hey, you got some flowers there, Dr. Paul. Awesome right there. And I'd like to thank every single last one of you for being here again. We're at a milestone next week with episode 50. Not a lot of people get to episode 50. We'd like to thank every single last one of you today in the panel and the past shows, because you know what? Success breeds success. And it's all about us growing together. Look, we have people from Trinidad and Tobago, from New Zealand, from these different college universities, professors that are helping the future. We're all in it together. I challenge you to go back to last week's show and find out that people in New Zealand, people in Cameroon, people in Trinidad and Tobago, in Canada, they're all facing almost the same stuff that we're facing. It's universal. But you know what? We are not alone, because we got these platforms. You've got the Fantastic Four. You got Coach Hurt every Saturday. You got Tammy and Shika. You got Jefe at 10:30, 10:55. You got us, the Fantastic Four. You got Chris up there with this podcast. You got all of this knowledge, and it's for free. You don't need to get a PO. You don't need to go to your principal for it to get signed. They don't have to send it to the area superintendent and then to finance, and they get kicked back again because you didn't put in this budget code. You don't need that. All this is for free here. And it's all about sharing the ideas. So please help us. We get not one penny at all about this. All this is free knowledge for you. The only plus that we can ever get is by you liking it and sharing it, so that one person in Nebraska, one person in Iowa, one person in Wyoming gets this free knowledge that they never knew was out there. We care about you. We love you. We'll see you for a milestone. Episode 50 next week. Say goodbye, panel.
Bye.
Bye.